to episode 30 of the Hall of Fame show. And number 30. Nolan Ryan were number 30.
He did.
First ballot Baseball Hall of Famer. One of the greatest flamethrowers ever. And he just defied age. It's crazy how long that man played and was good.
And was also probably, had MMA been a thing, would have been a very good person. Just ask Robert Ventura.
I knew one of us, as soon as I mentioned Nolan Ryan, was going to make a Robin Ventura joke.
Yeah, poor Robert Ventura. Robert Ventura was not a Hall of Famer, but like a 90% player. Like he was better than 90% of the people who have ever played baseball.
Yeah.
And he's remembered for being punched in the face repeatedly by a 45-year-old Nolan Ryan.
I think he was 46.
46.
Yeah.
Older than Tom Brady.
Only Nolan Ryan looked a hell of a lot older.
Nolan Ryan probably used to smoke cigarettes in the locker room.
I believe that. I totally believe that.
Tom Brady doesn't eat strawberries. So
even the Subway commercial, they even ask him if he even eats bread.
Yeah.
And yet, amazingly, that's not even the worst choice the Subway made, which I'll talk about a little bit later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Nolan Ryan, I bring him up because we're going to selfishly promote our project. It's the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, the only one of its kind, which is crazy to think of. And Nolan is a candidate. So you can vote for him or your other favorites, www.nothalloffame.com/USA. And we've got quite a bit of Hall of Fame related news. We've been holding off on the fictitious halls, but we'll look at that maybe next week, maybe or not, depending on what sort of happens. There's some news that just sort of like trickled in the wire that I missed completely that you mentioned to me off air. So maybe we should do that.
So a couple things just in passing, minor Hall of Fame news. Paul Pierce announced that Kevin Garnett is going to be his presenter for the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is kind of cool. Tomorrow we have the announcement for the Country Music Hall of Fame. We'll announce who the people getting in there are. But today, just about 3 hours ago, the Philadelphia Eagles announced their Hall of Fame is going to be adding 2 members. Their offensive line for that Hall of Fame is significantly stronger now with Trey Thomas and John Runyon. So very good choices.
Absolutely. And, congrats to those 2 individuals. Congratulations to, again, Philadelphia Eagles did a very, very good job with their Hall of Fame. We haven't really talked much about them for whatever reason, but we should give credit where it's due.
I'm sure if they did a bad job with their Hall, though, the fans in Philadelphia would be fine with it.
Oh, absolutely. They're certainly known for that. Did you watch any of the Field of Dreams game today?
I did not have the opportunity to. I did see that my fraternity brother, Kevin Costner, made an appearance.
Who's a frat brother of yours?
He is a member of my fraternity. So I got him. I got I can't think of his name, Kelso from that 70s show. We have both guys from Dude, Where's My Car?
Okay.
Yeah, Sean William Scott and I can think of the other guy's name.
Nice. Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher. Yeah, all 3 of those guys are Delta Chi's. So
that's sort of like why I decided to break out a baseball jersey as my random jersey of the day. Or of the show, my San Francisco Giants one. I think I've had this for like 20 years. And I thought I'd pair it with a Winnipeg Jets hat because, why not?
Why not?
I mean, down here, nobody knows.
I have to say, I like the Jets' old logo and I like their new logo. It doesn't happen much where like someone changes the logo, you're like, oh, that's better. But I like both logos for the Jets.
I dislike both logos for the Cleveland Indians / Guardians.
Well, all right. So first of all, we didn't talk about that. But the name, the Guardians, have no trouble with. Like, I understand why. When I first heard, I'm like, that's kind of weird. Okay. And then it was even weirder that they had Tom Hanks doing the announcement. I'm like, what does he have to do? But apparently he's doing something like the Cleveland Shakespeare Theater. So he's in residence there for something, I guess. But I was like, what? Like Drew Carey was unavailable or like someone from Guardians of the Galaxy, like just something like that. So I get it though with the statues and everything, but that logo for the Guardians with the G with the wing, or the baseball with the wings on it, looks like, do you remember, did you ever play backyard baseball? It's a Nintendo game. It started in like the late 90s and going from there. So they couldn't have real team names. They had fake team names. It was like the Boston Crabs and all these other names. It looks like the 1998 clip art version of one of those logos. Like, I have no trouble with the name. I understand why they did it. I thought they should have done the Spiders, but someone pointed out the Spiders are the worst team. Their last year was the single worst team in the history of baseball. And maybe they want to bring that up. But again, it's Cleveland. So what are you going to do? But I get the Guardians. It makes sense. But that logo.
Okay, maybe I didn't read why it makes sense. Why does it make sense?
So if you go into the stadium, there's a bridge right there. And there are, on the bridge, there are these statues who are called the Guardians of Transportation.
I must have missed that when I went to an Indians game.
Yeah, a lot of people just walk over the bridge without thinking about it. I did notice them, but I didn't know what they were called because I told you, I used to date a girl from Cleveland. So I didn't notice them before. I thought they were cool, but I had no idea what they were called. But they're the Guardians of Transportation. So they're standing there, like one's holding a train, one's holding a Conestoga wagon, and all sorts of stuff. So they're like right outside the stadium. So that makes sense. I have no problem with it. I thought it was dumb until I heard that. I'm like, okay, you literally are walking by them to get there. It gives a ton of history and ties into the city. It makes sense once I realized that logo is indefensible.
Yeah, think about how many thousands of dollars they paid somebody for that.
You think thousands of dollars?
Well, wouldn't it have been?
Oh, I think thousands is low. I think it's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh God, I hope not.
Oh, of course I did.
Well, still technically I'm right by saying thousands.
That's true. I'm just saying I thought it was underestimation. My university, the college I went to, tried trademarking the word wonk, WONK, as in like a policy wonk.
Okay.
And they spent $4 million doing it.
Wow. Our LLC was a lot cheaper than that.
It was. Right? They spent $4 million doing it. So if you can do $4 million to trademark a word that people don't really understand what it means, I can imagine that logo cost. If it costs upwards of $1 million, I would not be shocked. I also would be shocked if like the owner's kid did it or grandkid.
There's been a lot of shitty new logos lately, but
I like the Kraken logo though.
I do. Well, yes, I love the name. That is probably the best new name ever.
Yeah, that name is good. The only other one that would have been appropriate, I mean, the Americans would have been good just because of the history of the name. But I like the idea of the Sockeyes, which only works for hockey.
Yep.
Like that would have been good, but that's more like the Sockeyes just seems like a minor league baseball team name or minor league hockey team name. So the Kraken was the way to go.
So do we open up with the shit box?
We do.
Okay.
Sorry, one last thing. Are we going to go to that article later after the shit box?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, great. You go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So it's a weekly segment, Kirk Shit Box, where basically I just talk shit on something that's really bothering me. And it's going to be not my final discussion on the Olympics. It just wrapped up, as I said last week, and I'll say again this week, the worst one ever.
Worst Olympics ever.
Ever, yes. Thanks, comic book guy. I should have had that queued up. So I'm looking at a lot of again, because there's right wing, left wing sports media, which is crazy in itself. But right wing did what they always do. They said that the ratings were bad because everything went woke. That's only a small part of it, and it's the same rant I did on the Oscars, same one I did on the Emmys. But it's so true, and it fucking bothers me that you can't just combine everything and just say, yeah, well, not just even say other factors included. Well, I don't know, the time zone. And realistically, NBC, which has been doing this forever, did a shit job.
It was awful. I think I talked about water polo. Like they stayed all the way through the timeout, and then as soon as action started, cut to commercial. Like what was going on?
Build up your stars. If you don't want to go all in America, and I kind of get it with the current climate, then talk about others. build some stars. Do a special leading up to the whole Olympics. These are your people to watch. You had Allison Felix and you barely mentioned her.
I know.
Like
the most decorated Olympian of all time now, right? She's got 11, or did she get a 12th?
I don't think that makes her the most decorated female, I believe, in track.
Who has more than 11 medals?
Doesn't Phelps have more than that?
Oh, that's possible. Yeah, never mind. All right, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, but for sure, the most she had the chance, and she did it to become the most decorated female track and field athlete of all time, and she did it. I don't know how you don't promote the hell of it. I get pushing Simone first. I would have too. I think if you and I were running the network, we probably would have said, okay, who's our A star?
Well, I mean, let's do it this. Let's count down. If we were going to say our network, it's Simone Biles, USA Basketball, USA Women's Soccer. 1, 2, 3.
Sure. But then we could have came up with a whole bunch of others. I know I ragged on Katie Ledecky's looks last week, but I still would have promoted the hell out of her.
Katie Ledecky, of course.
Yeah. So you have her, Allison Felix. You've got the U.S. women's basketball team.
Correct. Yeah, who's seven times in a row champion, the most dominant dynasty in sports history.
It's not a dynasty.
I'm messing with you. There's a commercial on right after the Olympics about that. Yeah. A girl giving a history report about ancient dynasties and decided to talk about the U.S. women's basketball team. So, how about Sue Bird? Just by the way, complete aside, Sue Bird, after she won that gold medal, someone just did a list of how many championships she has won in her career, and the list had to go 3 tweets. Just a list for Sue Bird's career. It was insane.
They almost won both golds together. That would have been interesting.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, would have been. But so that's sort of my rant. And again, CNN will do the same bullshit stuff too. They'll mention all the stuff I just said. Actually, they didn't talk about NBC. But they're not going to say, well, some of these people are turnoffs. Like I said last week, Megan's a turnoff. You heard what's happening with her in Subway, right?
I hear that people are upset with her, and they're trying to get her to be eliminated as a spokesperson. They're going to boycott. And
I'm not surprised.
Whatever. I mean, that's people try and every time they try and boycott someone who's woke, it ends up being better off for the company anyway. Legitimately, there has not been a time that has backfired for anybody. Legitimately, name a time where it backfired for somebody having a woke person in charge.
As a spokesperson?
Yeah. It's backfired the other way.
I'm not sure. I mean, like when we're talking about somebody like a woke pitch person. Okay, Victoria's Secret. That's not going to work. That's going to be a disaster.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, do you think the people were going to boycott Victoria's Secret because they're woke?
Oh no, they're not going to boycott. They're not going to boycott it. They're just not. It's not going to sell any. It's not going to move any merchandise.
I guess. I mean, does Victoria's Secret matter anymore? I mean, that was like the secret porn catalog back before the internet was going on, right?
Not really. I mean, that's why they're trying something different.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah, possibly. But I mean, but they made them NBC. I don't know how you screw this up when you've been doing this so long. How do you not try to build and make everyone your star when you can?
Yeah.
It's just awful. And you know what? Yeah. Yes, everything's because of the time zone. We'll show it live anyway.
Right. Well, and the next one is in what, 6 months now?
In China.
In China. So it's going to be basically the same sort of time zone situation. Plus, we're going to have, if you were worried about the wokeness at this Olympics, wait till you get to China's human rights record with the athletes in the Olympics.
I've listened to the Chinese. They say it's perfect.
You haven't heard anything from the Uyghurs because they are being forced out and not being allowed to speak. So
that's the one you really, if you were going to boycott something, that might be the one to boycott. Having said that,
nobody's going to.
and neither am I. I'm gonna watch all of it, especially with the knowledge that it looks like the NHL players are going to be there.
Yeah. Well, 2022, we're going to have the Olympics in China. We're going to have the World Cup in Qatar, which isn't exactly a human rights mecca either. By the way, Qatar, who had never qualified for World Cup, they lost the U.S. in the Gold Cup, which is the the North American Continental Championship. And they played pretty well. The U.S. had a tough time with them, so they may actually not be as big a pushover in the World Cup next year as I thought they were going to be. So
we'll see. We will see.
We'll see. They played pretty well in that tournament.
And just two other final thoughts on the Olympics. While everyone was just, the whole thing is a mess. Did you see the? I don't know what weight class it was, but the guy representing Kazakhstan wins his. Well, it looks like he's going to win the gold medal in karate. Knocks his opponent out. And he gets disqualified for hitting him too hard.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck is that? And then the two high jumpers, one from Qatar, the other one from Italy, decided, no, we're not even gonna try to be the sole gold.
That one I have no trouble. That one I have a problem.
I have a problem with it. You didn't even try it, jerk off. I don't like it.
Fair enough.
I
have no problem with it whatsoever. So
no. End rant. You forwarded off something pretty interesting. It was from sportsillustrated.com that we'll talk about.
Yeah, let me pull it up here so I have it in front of me. Where did I put it? All right, just try to open it and close it. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I mean, basically it's an article, was it Ken Crippen, I think?
It was written by Clark Judge, actually.
Oh, Clark Judge, sorry. So where he is making his predictions for the senior candidate, the coach candidate,
coach and contributor.
Coach and contributor. And
so, yeah, just so those of people who don't know, because it just seems like we just inducted a Hall of Fame class. As a matter of fact, two of them recently. Did you watch any of the speeches, by the way?
I should.
Yeah, they were short. They were pretty good. I did enjoy Peyton Manning's joke about Tom Brady. That Tom Brady, when he is gets elected on his first year of eligibility in 2035, the speech is getting so short he's going to have to announce it on Instagram. It was a really, really funny thing. But as soon as they said Tom Brady, the entire audience started booing.
Oh,
and I was like, guys, Charles Woodson is here. There got to be a lot of Michigan guys here right now. And you're booing? What the heck? So, well, maybe it may have all just been Colts fans. So
that could be
uncultured swine that they are.
Ouch.
I don't know. I my problem with the
I do
with Tony Dungy and I can think of the GM's name right now.
I'm blanking on that too.
The cheatingest cheater of cheaters of all time.
Oh, so how do we really
away with it? Yeah, well, I can't think of his name.
Don't matter.
Colts GM Hall of Famer. My goodness, it just can't. Bill Polian.
Oh, okay. Yeah, how did that name not come to me? Right.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot it. As much as I disliked the man, I should probably remember his name. So anyway, but yeah, no. So because of that, now they've all met and they're now getting back together to name the senior. We're not going to know even the list of 100+ people who are preliminary nominees until next month.
Right.
And then are we going to do our thing again, by the way, this year? Awesome.
Yeah, I think so. And what Evan's referring to is we put together a group chat, and I think hopefully we're going to have a few different people, a lot of returning people, I'm hoping, where we came up with our semifinalists. And it was a real fun discussion. We really exchanged some ideas, learned a lot.
Friends became enemies. Enemies became friends. I somehow became a Kevin Williams stan without meaning to. It was amazing.
And I successfully championed Herschel Walker without once mentioning his buddy.
It was a compelling argument. Herschel Walker's compelling argument. Still, the star of the whole thing was Tom's argument on Nolan. Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, that was amazing. Like, and again, it didn't help him get to our finalists when he cut it down, but he got into the semifinals. And I think last year was a tough year just because we had so many first ballots. It's entirely possible we do that again, Nolan is one of our finalists, straight up.
Well, and that's sort of what we're hoping to, so that we'll have some different blood into this, some different opinions that maybe we didn't have before. There was a couple people who were invited who couldn't attend, and hopefully we'll see them involved in this. But yeah, if anyone's listening and you think you've got something to add on that, hey, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, the
Unless
more
you
people
suck, then I don't want you.
Ask your doctor if you suck at sports commentary before joining. No, seriously
Never,
though.
never stopped me from doing a show.
Yeah, it's also true. Same here. But we are firm believers in having more people involved. The last thing we want is just us coming up with stuff, because we are geniuses. But I mean, at least our moms say that, or one of our moms does anyway. But we want to make sure, I mean, it's a whole different opinion. I will say this. I don't know if you are participating, but Nick Bombach has his Rock Hall Revisited thing. Yeah. For the last 3 or 4 rounds now, I've been a voter on that.
That's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, but I'm learning a ton of stuff like that. But one of the things I'm learning the most of is there are people out there with musical opinions very different than mine. Like the whole time I'm like, who the hell is voting for the Carpenters to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? They kept getting, like, the way he has it set up, you need at least 50% to get in, which is the normal way it is. And he has 40 people and you can vote for 15. And so there's usually somewhere between like 9 and 11 who get in, depending on the strength of the class. But like the Carpenters kept getting like 35 to 45% year after year before they got in. And like the 6th time, I'm like, who would ever vote for the Carpenters for the Hall of Fame? And there you go. But you just never know who's out there and who believes what. So.
Yeah, and I was unable to get Fella in, but into that one. But oh well.
Yeah, I know.
Oh well.
Oh well. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So going back to this, they announced it. We're back to a situation where we have one coach, one contributor, and one senior, and all of us think that one senior is cruel and unusual punishment. I have no trouble with the one in the other 2 categories, because honestly, coaches, I think we got about 4 more, and then we're getting it a little bit lower. In my opinion, I think Buddy Parker, Don Coryell, Holmgren, probably Mike Shanahan. You could probably throw Schottenheimer in there. But now we're getting a little bit low on the list for me.
Right. I'd agree. So, so with that, he's predicting Parker, and he's pretty confident about that.
I still think it's going to be Coryell.
I do too.
Because Coryell's been through the system so many times. But if it's Buddy Parker, I'm not going to be upset.
Oh God, no. I mean, I would actually prefer Parker to Coryell, personally.
Yeah, here's all you need to know about Buddy Parker. Buddy Parker had brought the Lions to the NFL championship game 3 years in a row. The last time the Lions were in the championship game was 1957. Where Buddy Parker was I think Parker left partway through that season, so he wasn't there for that, but he built that team. They lost that championship, but it was 55, 56, 57, winning postseason record with the Lions.
You know, we're not young men, me especially, but
in our lifetime, we have seen one postseason win for the Lions franchise.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. That is absolutely insane.
I think it was 1990, if I remember correctly. I mean, I was 11. I'm growing a beard that's getting more and more gray by the minute. Like every time I look in the mirror every day, I'm like, oh my God, is that another gray?
Oh, yeah. My chin is all that.
Yeah. But yeah, I have no problem with Buddy Parker. Coryell, I can understand the argument against, because he doesn't have that many wins. He has a losing record in the playoffs, but he created a whole offensive system, which is essentially taken over the NFL.
Absolutely. If they went on just pure influence, Coryell would have been in like first ballot.
Yeah. So, and he's been a finalist. I don't have it in front of me, so I may be off on this, but somewhere around 4 or 5 times.
About that, yeah.
He's been a finalist before, so that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't surprise me if Parker jumps in. I don't mind. Both of them have passed away. Nobody's insulted. But I really think I disagree with them. I really think it's gonna be Coryell. But again, I have no trouble with Buddy Parker. who else did he mention in that? I have to go back to the actual article. Going back,
I don't recall. I just remember like those are the two, like because he seems pretty confident in everyone he picked. So we just sort of
yeah, those are the only two he really brought up. He also brought up the fact George Allen was 2-7 in the playoffs and is in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. George Allen, of course, also a very noted cheater, but nobody cares about. So, yeah. So he only really brought up those two names. I really think it's between them. I mean, I guess a dark horse candidate, if they're going to get someone who's still alive, I'd say the next person is probably Holmgren. Just for his championship and the fact he was a general manager and built that Seahawks team out of nothing. I mean, he left and they've gone to different sort of success, but he was that Seahawks franchise after Steve Largent retired was moribund for decades and a half before he came in and took over. So that's the only other person I can even think of who probably.
Well, let's see who's on TV so David Baker can make an appearance.
Good question. I don't know. Are there any coaches on TV now who aren't in? Because we got Cowher, Jimmy Johnson, and Dungy. Is there anybody else I'm missing?
Not on national television, I don't think. I'm not even sure who does some of the stuff on the NFL Network.
I don't know. But anyway, so we think it's either going to be Coryell or Parker. I think it's Coryell. He thinks it's Parker. I don't really care. Both of them are good choices. And then let those two guys get in, then get Holmgren in after. Mm-hmm. And just get those two guys first.
And so you had a couple interesting ones for contributor. Ralph Hay is one I like a lot, an awful lot.
I do too, but I don't want him this time.
Who do you want instead?
I want McNally. Art McNally.
Yep.
Art McNally is 96 years old. Like, just get him in. You've already screwed up by not putting Ralph Hay in the 20th or the 2020 75th or 100th anniversary team. The guy who basically founded the NFL should have already been in. He should have been like, we're going to name him, and then you guys can pick everybody else in this class. But the NFL has one official in its hall, and he's only sort of an official. So McNally's not only, and this was brought up, it was Hugh Shorty Ray, elected in 1966. There are 10 umpires in Cooperstown. There are 16 in the NBA Hall of Fame. There are a bunch in the Hockey Hall of Fame, too. I know Andy Van Helleman's in there and a couple others. There are none here. So he is not only one of the most respected officials in league history, he's also essentially responsible for instant replay existing in all sports.
And, that's the other interesting thing, too. I don't think there's any sport where officials are more important. I mean, they're obviously critically important in all sports, but in football, doesn't that sort of trump everything else?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm rooting for McNally. Again, McNally, I think, is someone they could have put in with the 20th anniversary or the 100th anniversary team as well. But the dude's 96. Just let him skip the line, get Ralph Hay next year. No problem. The person alive they mentioned was Bob Kraft, who just turned 80. So he's not a young man either. But 96 is older than 80.
Yeah.
So get Art McNally, and I know Kraft will be in at some point. It would not shock me if they did it posthumously. It wouldn't shock me if they did posthumously with him, just because he's been a little bit controversial. But their new Kraft saved the Patriots from moving to St. Louis. He has built a dynasty out of, again, a franchise that, I mean, we got robbed in 75. We went to the Super Bowl to get crushed by the Bears. The Bears did come back in that game, by the way. The Patriots were up 3-0. And then they were holding their own. Well, that was after he bought it. I mean, and then at that point, they had been 1-15, 2-14. We had Hugh Millen and Scott Secules as our quarterbacks.
I don't even remember them.
Yeah, nobody does.
Apparently you do.
Except I do, because I'm an actual Patriots fan. I showed up long before.
Yeah.
I showed up long before Kraft bought the team, but that team was going to move, and he took it and built a the winningest franchise. Everyone talked about the terrible year the Patriots had last year. They went 7-9. They didn't even lose 10 games in like their worst year in 20. So that is, and he's also the guy who's responsible for negotiating the most recent television contract that's going to make everyone billionaires again. Yep. So I think he's a very important figure. But again, McNally, Hay, and Bucko Kilroy is another one they brought up who would have been a good choice. Also another Patriots guy. He's the guy who built those early 70s Patriots teams.
I think, well, I would like to see Kraft, but I'm with you with McNally. That would be the one I would like to go with. Kraft is just so damn important with everything that he's accomplished. And
he's clearly the next owner. Oh, yeah. Unless there's some big Art Modell stand out there, and the city of Cleveland, as I've said, would just go to Canton and burn it down. Like
yes, they would.
So unless you're a big Modell guy, there's no other owner.
No, I don't think it's even close at this point.
No. So, yeah, but anyway, so we're both rooting for McNally. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Hay. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Kraft.
I'm happy with all of them.
Yeah, Bucko Kilroy, I think he's also no longer with us, so no offense, but he can wait a little bit. At this point, it doesn't make any difference. So I'll make a prediction for you though.
Sure.
This contributor role within the next 5 years, well, after this next group of people, is going to go to Rich Eisen. He's been there since the beginning. He's been the anchor for the NFL Network for over 20 years now, believe it or not. That's how old we are. Yeah, I know. So he's been there. He's going to have been there like a quarter of a century, and impeccable record. Never had any issues. His Rich Run campaign is one of the most famous charity campaigns anywhere in the country.
Mm-hmm. All around
within the decade. I won't say 5 years, but within the decade, Rich Eisen will get that spot.
I'd like that. So going back to, I guess, with this article, he was pretty, the player that he had pegged for the senior pool kind of surprised me in a way. I know the momentum has really been building for Ken Riley, who's the player that he selected. Having said that, it's hard for me to sort of think that they're going to go with somebody who wasn't one of the 10 players that didn't make it from the Centennial class.
True, but he did bring up the fact that apparently Riley finished second in the voting last year for the senior candidate.
Which is fascinating.
And so we were having a discussion about this on one of the things there, where they're talking about Gradishar is going to be the person everyone should be putting in. And I have no trouble. Randy Gradishar is a Hall of Famer. He should be in already. But I said that there's been so much momentum building behind the fact that there's only one Bengal in the Hall of Fame. There's one. It's Anthony Munoz. There have been two other players, Terrell Owens and James Lofton. Both played for the Bengals at one point in their career.
I don't even remember Lofton as a Bengal.
I don't either. I saw it on there, and I was like, are you sure about that? But those are the only three guys who have ever donned a Bengals uniform since 1967 who have ever made the Hall of Fame, which is insane.
Yeah.
So at some point, we always joke that the Steelers fans and Raiders fans and Cowboys fans say that the Hall hates them and the only team that's right is the Bengals.
Yep.
One of the Kens, I think, is going to be the choice in this year. And I think it may be Riley. I know the reasons against it, but they went offense last year. It wouldn't shock me. They're trying to balance it out and go defense this year. Again, if it's Ken Anderson, I'm not going to be shocked. He didn't bring Ken Anderson up in his article at all.
No, he was saying it's either going to be him or Cliff Branch.
Yeah. So Cliff Branch is interesting. Gradishar is a very, very good. He also brought up Roger Craig, Al Wistert, Eddie Metter, Tommy Nobis, Sterling Sharp, Maxie Bond, and others. Because there are 58 seniors who are all decade players, and 53 of them have never been on a ballot. on a finalist ballot.
Now, put in a bit of perspective, some of those are special teamers who will never get love.
Right. And then there's others like the backup one for the 90s, as much as I love him, is Ben Winter Coates. And Coates is probably never getting the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So there are a few of them like that who are going to be there, but they have a ridiculously deep senior pool. The fact there's only one going in we've already had our first one because they had the big group. They had a big group like, oh, we cleared a bunch out. Had they just done it normally, essentially they're getting like 2 more people in than they would have normally. It was just dumb.
There's no reason they can't adopt a system like baseball does, only keep it going for a few years. Have your sections, just have them all running at the same time. So have your pre-1950 or maybe pre-merger.
Mm-hmm. Pre-merger at this point, because that's over 50 years ago. I think you just do pre-merger.
So, I mean, there's no reason you couldn't do that for a few years and then maybe put them all back together again. There's no reason why that can't happen.
Well, the other thing that we haven't talked about is with that 100th anniversary team is Winston from the Jets was the only AFL player who was elected. Mm-hmm. The AFL is largely forgotten about this point.
Which is insane considering, gotta keep using that word today, considering how important that league was.
Yeah. And there are some ridiculously good choices out there to come out of the AFL. There are some incredible players to come out of the AFL who are just largely forgotten. So I don't know how you do it correctly, but I can tell you there are too many people. Like everyone's like, oh, we don't want just anyone in the Hall of Fame. Like there are 58 all-decade players. Not all of them are just those guys. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah, like some of them are kickers and some of them are punters and some of them like whatever. But you can't tell me that Roger Craig isn't somebody like, think of those. Everyone talks about Rice in Montana. Mm-hmm. Roger Craig was also very important on those freaking teams.
Absolutely.
And he's at least been a finalist. He just hasn't made it. But like, I don't know what they're going to do, but having one a year, we got this year and then 3 more afterwards. We're just gonna have a whole bunch of people who should be getting in who are going to pass away, and it's going to suck. So,
well, like Chubby Checker said about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I mean, what good does this honor do me when I'm dead?
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, who would your choices be for each category? Who would your choices be, and who do you expect they're going to pick?
With that information from this article, I have no reason to doubt what he said. So if he's saying that there's a lot of momentum behind Riley, I'll acquiesce to that opinion. For me, it's Gradishar or Craig. Those are my 2 that I'm most passionate about. Okay. I think I'm more passionate about Craig, just what he did offensively. I mean, it set a template for running backs afterwards. I honestly think Gradishar to me, I think is. I mean, if it was either one of those 2, I'd be elated. Mm-hmm. But I'll defer to what he thinks. I agree with you on it's going to be Coryell. I totally agree with that. I would prefer Parker, as I said. Mm-hmm. I'm totally fine with it being Coryell.
Yep. And then for the contributor?
For the contributor, I don't know. I think it's going to be Hay.
Okay, fair enough. I wouldn't surprise if it was Hay either.
No, that's who I want also.
Okay, so for me, if I had my choice, I think it's going to be Riley. I think I would pick Riley too, barely over Gradishar. Riley and Gradishar are my top 2. No offense to Roger Craig, but they need to get some more of these defensive guys in there. Yep. So it'd be Riley and Gradishar. If either one of them I am very happy with. I think it's going to be Riley though. For coach, again, we've talked about it. I think it's going to be Coryell. If it's Buddy Parker, that's fine. I really don't care. Pick one. Yep. Like either one of them is fine. If it's somebody else, we might have an issue. But particularly if it's Holmgren, like at the outcry from the Hall of Fame community, I know that we're very big and scary. But the outcry for the Hall of Fame community, if it's somebody modern again, is going to be pretty big. So I think it's going to be one of those two. And as for the contributor, Hay is a good choice. I want McNally. Watch it be Kraft.
Could very well be.
Just watch it be Kraft. So anyway,
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that nobody would be ripping on that at all on ESPN or First Take or anything.
Oh God, no. I'll be here to defend it.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So that was interesting stuff from that article. I thought it was good and timely. That's happening sometime this month. We don't know exactly when.
Right.
But it's happening sometime this month. So
should we just go right into
the death rattle?
Man, we lost quite a few.
Yeah, we lost some interesting people outside of some of the stuff we do too. So hold on a second. Let me get to where I want to start here. So let's start in wrestling. Beautiful Bobby Eaton.
One of my all-time faves.
Passed away at the age of 62.
Love this guy.
I wanted to start with him to give you an opportunity here. So go ahead.
Yeah, one half of one of my favorite tag teams, the Midnight Express. Legendary nice guy. Such a nice guy that when he got married to, or when he started dating the woman who became his eventual wife, fortunately she passed away just a month earlier.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
Yeah. So it was she was the daughter of a pro wrestler, a guy named Superstar Bill Dundee.
Okay.
And Bill, knowing how awful wrestlers were, he never wanted his daughter to ever date one.
Mm-hmm.
So when he found out that his daughter was dating a wrestler, he said, "I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill whoever this motherfucker is." Then found out it was Bobby Eaton. Said, "Oh, okay." Like, just legendary, nice, one of the nicest people. Humble, had one of the coolest entrance theme songs ever. They used Chase from the Midnight Express theme.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He threw, it's funny talking about throwing a punch and when they're all worked. He did it so well that it took me a while to figure out that he was actually, when he was doing that, when he would throw that punch, he's slapping his arm right here like that to make a sound, like a punch sound.
Mm-hmm.
But which seems like so obvious, but it wasn't. Everything he did was near perfect. Just one of those guys who was just the most amazing pro wrestler that maybe I ever saw. One of my all-time faves. Great guy, great worker. Gone too soon.
Yeah, 10 days short of 63.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not going to add anything because I can't say I knew him that well. I mean, that was a heck of a tribute. So rest in peace, Bobby Eaton. Mm-hmm. From the world of track, unfortunately, we lost Cameron Burrell, passed away at the age of only 29. He's the NCAA Division I champion in 2018 in the 100 meters. I'm sorry, he's 26 when he passed away. He is the son of former 100-meter world record holder Leroy Burrell and his Olympic gold medalist Michelle Finn Burrell. I don't have a cause of death here, but 26 is way too young.
Something must have gone wrong, obviously.
Yeah, I don't have what happened, but just way too young to go. From the world of, let's go to music next. We lost session musician Mike Finnegan, who is a keyboard player and vocalist, known for his work in the Hammond organ. He performed and toured with, you ready for this list?
Sure.
I love these session guys because they just go everywhere and work with everybody. Jimi Hendrix, Joe Cocker, Etta James, Sam Moore, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Dave Mason, Buddy Guy, Manhattan Transfer, Taj Mahal, Michael McDonald, Peter Frampton, Cher, Ringo Starr, Leonard Cohen, Tower of Power, Rod Stewart, David Coverdale, Tracy Chapman, Los Lonely Boys, Bonnie Raitt. But other than that, who did he play with?
I was about to say insane again. No, that's an incredible list. You want to see something kind of crazy? Look at what David Coverdale looks like now.
We'll do that another time. You could throw that up as our background at some point here. But he was He was
No.
76. He died of kidney cancer. Mike Finnegan. We lost American hip hop and R&B record producer Chucky Thompson passed away from COVID at the age of 53. He only produced Big Papa from Notorious B.I.G., My Life by Mary J. Blige, Think of You from Usher. I mean, you just keep going down and down. One Sweet Day by Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men. Like he did stuff for Faith Evans, Puffy, Ice Cube, Maya, Nas, Lil Mo. Like it's a ridiculous list of stuff. Busta, everything like that. And only 53 to pass away. One he was with Bad Boy Records, Bad Boy Entertainment. He's part of the Hitman team of the in-house producers during the 90s. Yeah, 53 years old, passed away from COVID earlier this week. From Kool and the Gang, we lost Dennis Thomas, the keyboardist, the second member of Kool and the Gang. We've lost in about
this year,
8 months, right? Kool and the Gang is massively overdue for a nomination from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And incredibly underrated.
Incredibly underrated band, massively overdue. We can never control who gets voted in, right? That's the voting public. But it's, I mean, we always say, why is Donna Summer not in? Well, the guys put Donna Summer up 4 times in a row before she passed away. Just nobody voted her in.
Right.
Like Kool and the Gang hasn't even made it that far. And we've lost a couple of them now. Dennis Thomas and is joining Ron Bell. Ricky West has passed away. Spike Mickens has passed away. Clayton Smith has passed away. Arthur Nash, like a whole bunch of these guys. Woody Sparrow, Clifford Adams, they're all gone. Get these guys up and in before we lose anybody else. They fully deserve it. But yeah, Dennis Thomas passed away at the age of, I think it was 73 when he passed. From the world of country music, we lost Razzie Bailey, who had 5 consecutive number ones in the early 1980s on the country charts.
Okay.
Loving Up a Storm, I Keep Coming Back, Friends, Midnight Holler, and She Left Love All Over Me, which is an interesting title for any sort of song. He passed away at the age of 82.
Wouldn't it have been better if it was sort of a woman singing that and it was He Left Love All Over Me?
Yeah. Either way, really.
Wow.
Well, he passed away at the age of 82 in his sleep. I don't see anything else. He had 3 double-sided number ones in succession on the country chart, something that no one else has ever done. So, including one of them was his cover of Wilson Pickett's In the Midnight Hour, by the way. So, which apparently was the backside of She Left Love All Over Me. So I can't even imagine that one. She Left Love All Over Me in the Midnight Hour. So anyway, Razzie Bailey passed away at the age of 82. There's too much to say here. I got to move on.
Yeah.
From the world of hockey, we lost the somehow less famous Hall of Famer brother, Tony Esposito. His brother Phil is probably a little more famous than he is. Passed away at the age of 78. Goaltender, one of the pioneers of the butterfly style, younger brother of Phil. Played most of his career with the Blackhawks, also played for the Canadians for a little bit. But yeah, anything to say about Tony Esposito?
No, just really incredible player. Again, like you sort of like opened up with, it's amazing that you're as good and as famous as Tony Esposito was, and you're the least famous brother.
Yeah,
like that's kind of crazy. Just how good, that shows how good Phil was. Tony made, like, he never won, well, technically he won a cup with Montreal.
Right, in '69 when he was still in college.
Yeah, but yeah, and then he played the rest of his career with Chicago.
He's one of the few people who's won a Stanley Cup and then won the Calder the next year.
Yeah, I think it was another Hab who did that. Ken Dryden did that.
Dryden did it? Okay, that doesn't surprise me. That's a hard thing to do, though, to win a Stanley Cup and then win the Calder.
Well, yeah, but it's been done a few times, I think. Who's another one who did that? Crap. It's escaping me, but I know that it's not just those two.
Yeah, he was a 6-time All-Star, Calder Trophy winner. I said 3-time Vezina Trophy winner in 70, 72, and 74. A member of the Canadian national team in the Summit Series in 72.
Canada Cup in 77.
And of course, his is a jersey that Garth Algar wears in Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2. Tony Esposito Jr. Yeah, so a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. In 98, the Hockey News ranked the 100 greatest hockey players. He came in at number 79 back then. Still one of the great goaltenders in NHL history.
Yeah, just saddled with an average to mediocre Chicago team.
Yeah,
which
one of his biggest issues. It's not that Mike Trout is, but Mike Trout saddled with a mediocre team all the time. It's sort of the same thing with Espo. I know Trout's probably higher rated, but
yeah. Well, there are certain similarities when you look at it like that. But yeah, sure.
Passed away at 78 from pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
From the world of racing, we lost one of the great announcers of all time. Bob Jenkins passed away earlier from, I believe, brain cancer at the age of 73. He was one of the first ESPN anchors when it debuted in 79. Worked with the network through 2003. He was the voice of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in his later years. But he and many people, he's the voice of Indianapolis, the Indianapolis 500 for a lot of people. Just absolutely, if there's ever anyone who got their dream job and lived out their life, it's Bob Jenkins. That dude just fell in love with IndyCar racing at Indy, fell in love with Indy, and just got to do that his entire life. So, do you have anything to say about Bob Jenkins or?
Nope.
No, yeah, he's just one of the big guys in motorsports racing announcing. One of the most recognized voices too. So, from the world of baseball, also lost to COVID. One of the great what ifs in sports history, J.R. Richard.
Yes.
At the age of 71. Went 107 and 71 in his career with an earned run average of 3.15. But that dude, he's an Astros Hall of Famer, only one-time All-Star, led the NL in ERA at 79, led them in strikeouts at 78, 79. But if there's ever can you imagine how good they'd be if in Major League history? J.R. Richard has got to be.
He's one of them.
Right up there.
I'm not sure if this is true or not, but was he the first first pitcher to be clocked at over 100?
Oh, that I don't know. I'll see if I can figure that out.
Yeah, while you're looking up that, I remember him, God, when he was being just, the things I remember, the things I forget are just crazy. I remember him being referenced in a Greatest American Hero episode.
Okay.
When he was pitching. He says, J.R. Richard's been clocked at 100, but I think I throw a little bit faster.
Yeah, well, he had a stroke when he was 30 years old.
2 weeks after the All-Star game, too.
2 weeks after the All-Star game. People like Dale Murphy and Johnny Bench have said that he was the toughest pitcher they ever faced in their career.
Mm-hmm.
But he got, the cause of the stroke was drug use. Let's just put it out there. Essentially.
Yeah.
There's no way of sugarcoating that. So, but yeah, just a shame as to what he could have really have been, and what ended up happening with his career. But yeah, he was only 71, but another person lost to COVID. So, before we get to the biggest name of the week, I just want to run through a few people from the world of our lives out there, particularly actors. We lost a couple of people from 80s classics. Alex Cord, who played Archangel in Airwolf, the TV show. I don't know if you ever watched Airwolf.
Okay,
no. Never mind. But Alex Cord passed away at the age of 88. Marky Post passed away at the age of 70.
Yeah.
Night Court person in 2 months, because Mac passed away in June, probably. I know we talked about it when he passed. Charlie Robinson. But Markie Post was only 70 when she passed.
It made me feel really old, actually.
Yeah.
I did not think of her as 70. Maybe because I can't think of the last time I saw her. Wasn't she in There's Something About Mary?
Yes, she was. She was Mary's mom.
Okay.
Wow, that's impressive. But she also, of course, was a big part of what was the other show she was in? I can't think of it. She's Simon and Simon, but she was in. No, what was the other show she was spending a lot of time in? I can't think of what it was.
Well, you're thinking of that. Simon and Simon made no sense. Those two didn't look like brothers at all.
No, true. But the thing I liked about Simon and Simon is bad stuff happened and then it like meant something. It just wasn't anything. She was the Hearts of Fire, but that's what I was looking for. There's something else she was a member of, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But anyway, Markie Post died of cancer at the age of 70. Mm-hmm. We lost Pat Hitchcock, who was Alfred Hitchcock's only child, and who was a bit part in several of his movies. She was 93. I'm not going to say much more about that. Jane Withers passed away, one of the junior Shirley Temple from the early era of Hollywood. She also ended up being in all sorts of other movies going all the way through up until she was actually the voice of one of Laverne from The Hunchback of Notre Dame was really her last thing. So she was in stuff from 32 through The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 2002. If you don't love old movies, you may not know who she is, but she was one of the big important child stars of the 30s and 40s. So she passed away at the age of 95. We lost to just today. Una Stubbs passed away. Do you watch Sherlock at all?
No.
Okay. Well, she was probably most well known as Mrs. Hudson, Sherlock's landlady in the most recent thing of Sherlock. She was 84. But the one that really hit me hard this week before we get to the biggest name was Trevor Moore passed away, the founder of the Whitest Kids You Know. Did you ever watch Whitest Kids You Know?
No.
The heir apparent to the Kids in the Hall. Just a incredibly irreverent stand-up comedy group. Had all sorts of sketch comedy, had all sorts of great stuff. One of the single funniest, if you haven't watched Whitest Kids You Know, guys out there, just go back and find old episodes. They're hilarious. But Trevor Moore was only 41. He passed away in some sort of accident that has not been announced as of yet. But it's just one of those ones that hit me hard. It doesn't mean anything to you. I got it because if you didn't watch it. But the Whitest Kids You Know and The State and Kids in the Hall were really, really big things for me, particularly in college and shortly thereafter. So rest in peace, Trevor Moore. And lastly, someone who has a claim to be the greatest college coach of all time, probably, Bobby Bowden passed away at the age of 91.
I could go with that. Turned a dead program around completely. I was looking after he passed away. I can't forget how many years it was in a row, but I think there was like over 10 years in a row. Florida State finished in the top 5 in the postseason ranking. That's monumental.
Yep, crazy. Somehow only won the Coach of the Year or the Walter Camp Coach of the Year award once in 1991. 2 national championships, 12 ACC titles. Just one of the greatest coaches of all time. And I won't say Bobby was entirely 100% clean because you can't say that about anybody involved in college athletics.
No, probably not.
But that's as close as you're going to get for someone running a program in the Southeast with all the competitiveness you're going to get with Bobby Bowden. Just overall a stand-up guy, and one of the absolute legends of coaching.
No, absolutely. I can't say that one really got to me, only because we've been sort of prepped for this.
Yeah, he's announced like 3 weeks ago that he was that he was not doing so well. So But yeah, just absolute legend. And of course, he's a member of the College Football Hall of Fame as well, inducted in 2006.
And a nominee for the coaches section.
Exactly right.
Our United States Athletic Hall of Fame. Correct. Another shameless plug.
Hey, I'm telling you, shameless plug needs to be a new show. We just need to do it. So anyway, you got I think that's it. That's finally my list of everyone to get through. So
yeah, hopefully it's going to be a shorter list next week, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. We also had an extra day, so we had a couple people join. So.
That's true. That's true.
All right. So where are we going now? Are we going to your
elevator up, elevator down? The weekly look at those whose Hall of Fame chances have improved or not improved. I don't have an elevator down. I mean, I could have easily said Chris Davis, whose career has ended today. He retired, but Chris Davis is not going to be a Hall of Famer.
No.
Well, he'll be a Baltimore Orioles Hall of Famer, and he should be, based on their criteria.
Okay.
Two-time home run champion. Oh man, but his last 3 years, he was definitely the worst player in baseball.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard for him ever to get into any Hall of Fame just based off the fact that contract is probably the worst contract in the history of professional sports in this country.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't have his own day when he signed it, like Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, Bobby Bonilla Day, we missed it. It was July 1st. So we've only got, I think, 9 more.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other contracts that are pretty bad. But
that's a pretty good agent. I'm going to bring up a bad agent in my side of things where you come up. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so Chris Davis, I thought it was just sort of like worth mentioning. He'll get on the ballot. He should. Whether he receives a vote or not, I doubt it.
No, he'll never get a vote.
I mean, I was seeing today he had like 1,800 strikeouts or something and 1,100 hits. I don't remember the exact amount, but
yeah, that's not so good.
No, that's pretty bad. His hitless streak, because he set the record for the most consecutive at bats without a hit of 54. I think he did that. Was it the 2020 season or 2019? Because I would actually check all his at bats just to see him fail, because I wanted to see him break that record. I don't know why I felt that way. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah,
just to watch sort of like the mental break, not so much a mental breakdown, but just someone at that level struggle, and it's a car crash. I couldn't turn away.
Yeah, understood.
So, I don't know that that's so much an elevator down. That's the closest I had, but I figure that elevator, he got thrown out of it a long time ago. But I've got a few elevator ups, and they're all basically and they're all related to basketball. Congratulations on winning your bet.
Thank you. I'm back up to 5, I believe.
Back up to 5, yeah. So I took the field because I gave you Team USA. I bet I didn't mind losing because I always cheer for the Americans in basketball unless they're playing Canada, which doesn't happen too often.
Can I also just say before you get there, congratulations to Canada on their women's soccer gold. Big freaking deal. Good for you guys. And yeah. I'm gonna tell you this: Canada's gonna make the World Cup outright. They're gonna qualify in men's soccer.
Canada in men's?
Yeah, Canada men's. I think is gonna qualify in men's in soccer outright.
Oh wow! I hope you're right.
I think it's going to be Mexico, the U.S., and Canada. I think Costa Rica is having a down period. Honduras is a mess. Jamaica is still the gang who can't shoot straight. Canada's going to make it. I'm just calling it. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, cool. So we've talked about the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame a lot, and international accomplishments do matter. So we've had a few people who've added some gold to their resume. One with silver and Rudy Gobert, because that only helps.
Yep.
And Rudy had a very good tournament.
Rudy needs to play international basketball all the time. He needs to play in a league that has that rule.
So Rudy had a good tournament, and he's slow right now. He's on the wrong side of that Hall of Fame ledger by a bit, but this only helps. Like a nice international accomplishment like this. And France did beat the U.S. in the opening game.
They did.
Yeah. So going to the United States, obviously Kevin Durant's already a Hall of Famer. And I don't know about you, but when they announced that Kevin Durant announced that the new record for points in the Olympics. I was actually stunned. I had no idea he's not someone I think of when it comes to Olympic basketball.
Well, in the last 3 gold medal games, he's had 30, 30, and 29 points.
Yeah, but he's not that first of mind guy.
Right.
So I found that like super fascinating. So Kevin Durant's not one of those people who's really helped that much because he doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it.
No, he doesn't. Who this does help is Chris Middleton, who I've mentioned a couple of weeks ago, who now becomes a very another member of a very rare club, which is those who've won the Olympic gold and the NBA championship in the same year.
Yeah, in the same month.
Exactly. And I was just going to say, for what he did and what Devin Booker did, and that's another one who is just came off. I can't even imagine what their body's going through right now.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
And for them to do that and play well, I won't forget that. I hope the voters don't later on. I mean, Middleton is, pardon the pun, a middle of the road type of guy for this anyway.
Right, because I think Devin Booker and Jason Tatum, who both won golds, are going to have long careers that are going to make it there anyway. Middleton's kind of in that.
Middleton needs everything he can get.
He needs everything he can get.
And so this helps him more than probably anyone else. Because I agree with you with what you just said. Tatum is incredible.
Yeah.
And he's only going to get better.
I will say this one thing though. I actually disagree that Middleton's the most helped.
Okay. Who do you think?
I think Draymond Green is the most helped.
Yeah, but Draymond, if we look at what they did in the tournament, Draymond wasn't. I mean, yeah, this does help him, but I don't know his actual performance in the tournament was not
maybe
spectacular.
True. Maybe true, but just Draymond is. Everyone's just talking that Draymond's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't necessarily believe that as much. He's a very important part of those Warriors teams, but he's the fourth guy, right? I mean, some teams get 4 guys in. I mean, the Lakers had Magic, Worthy, Kareem, and they didn't get a 4th guy. I don't think out of any of those ones. Celtics had 4. We had Bird, not counting Walton. There's Bird, McHale, Parrish, and DJ all got in, but like, it's hard for a team to get a 4th guy in. And it's going to be Curry. Klay Thompson's going to get in, even with all the injuries he's had. And Durant, even though Durant was only there for part of it. But he was a super important. Draymond's the 4th guy. And having this, again, with Durant, but having this on his resume helps quite a bit because the international stuff, as we say, matters more in the Basketball Hall of Fame than any other sport.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you're probably right on that. I think I was just like I was focused on like what they actually did in the tournament.
Fair enough. No, fair enough.
And sometimes that all gets sort of washed away. I mean, JaVale McGee is now a gold medalist. That's a weird thing. I never.
Yeah, well, and he actually becomes the first mother-son gold medal winners in the history of the Olympics.
Who's his mom?
She won, I can't remember her name, but she won gold with the U.S. women's basketball team.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Hold on, I'll get JaVale McGee's mom in a second here.
Okay.
JaVale McGee.
Just keep his mom away from Delonte West.
His mom is Pamela McGee, who is a 2012 Women's Basketball Hall of Famer. Hold on a second, get her Wikipedia page. She won gold in the 84 Olympics.
Okay.
She's on the 84 Olympic team. So that's the first one ever. There have been mother-daughters, there have been father-sons, there have been father-daughters, but never a mother-son.
Look at that. All right.
So
very interesting.
At least in U.S. Olympic history. And the other person who I think got helped a lot was what's his name from the Bulls?
Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine. Like when they had the final 5 on the court to close things out against France, Jason Tatum was not on that court. Levine was.
Yeah, Levine had a very good tournament also. So that was someone else I was going to mention too. Like a lot of the other ones, it won't do anything for them. Like McGee's not getting into the Hall of Fame. Keldon Johnson's not getting into the Hall of Fame. No. Jeremy Grant's not getting into the Hall of Fame.
No. Well, but here's how much it helped Levine. Bill Simmons was having a legitimate conversation after that, as if it would be a fair trade straight up for Ben Simmons for Zach LaVine. Can you imagine having had that conversation a year ago?
But that's also sort of a shot at Simmons at the same time.
Well, how far Simmons has fallen and how far Zach LaVine has gone up.
Simmons has got to get the hell out of Philadelphia.
I know he's got to get the hell out of Philadelphia, but like, if you're making a trade, where are you going? And someone said that because LaVine's not happy in Chicago. He's not feeling like he's getting the support he wants. And the fact they traded for DeMar DeRozan, who's essentially an older version of Zach LaVine's game, has got to be like, we got a guy who does what you do. If you don't want the max, you may not get it here. So he may get traded, but a straight up trade for the two of them may be interesting. But a year ago, I could never imagine.
Where do you think Kemba Walker is going to end up?
Where?
Kemba Walker.
He's in New York.
Oh, did he just signed with New York?
Yeah, he signed with New York for $8 million.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah, so the New York spent a lot of money on guys who aren't going to get him any higher than they were this year.
I like Kemba Walker a lot, but
me too. But his knees are done. He's done. He can't play every other night. He can't play back-to-backs. Kemba Walker is a genuinely nice guy, a college basketball legend, and a guy who toiled away in obscurity for his best years with some terrible Charlotte teams. But his knees are done. Like I've watched him for 2 years on a routine basis. His knees are done. It sucked the Celtics had to trade him and let him go. But because I really like him as a person and I like him as a player, but he will be out of the league within 2 years.
Could very well be.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, but anyway, so yeah, good elevator up. Was that what you got?
Yep. That's my elevator up.
Cool. All right. Speaking of someone who's out of the league for basketball, I'm going to start my good, bad, and ugly.
Weekly good, bad.
I'm going to talk about a story I love just because it is one of the most unexpected things I think I've ever read in my entire life.
Okay.
J.R. Smith is going back to college.
Yeah.
And J.R. Smith is going back. Not only is he going back to college, he never went to college originally. So he's going to North Carolina A&T, which he thought about going back to college after having a heart-to-heart conversation with Ray Allen, another UConn legend, who's like, hey, you really need your degree and everything. So he's going back to school, the North Carolina A&T. He is a 5-handicap golfer, and he's never used any of his eligibility in college sports. So he's applying to play for the North Carolina A&T golf team.
Why not?
As a 35-year-old man. Good for him. I am here for J.R. Smith. He's like, I went to school, I did a lot of research. It's one of the best liberal arts programs in the country. I think
he really should be taking math though.
Fine, understood. Just so he knows how many timeouts there are.
Yeah.
But like, I don't say many. It's hard to say many things necessarily. J.R. Smith has got a lot of negative press over the years. Let's put it that way. And this is such a weird, delightful story that I am very much all in favor of this. I hope the NCAA does the right thing on this one and lets him play. He's never used the eligibility. You can't go pro in a sport and then play in college. So he would be able to play for the basketball team. But he's never been a professional golfer. So he's allowed. So I'm hoping they give him the dispensation. We should find out this week. Good for J.R. Smith. I'm a big fan of this. So good on you, my friend.
All right.
For the bad, part of me wants to just go to Jeopardy on this.
So, I forgot that. Yes, that's right. They announced the new hosts.
They announced a new host. First of all, hosts is the first problem. But have I ever told you about it? I don't know. I coined this term. If someone else has used it, I don't know. But it's one of the rare, beautiful things that happens in life. I call it a Cheney committee. Okay.
Oh, what?
A Cheney committee.
Okay.
This came from the 2000 election, where George W. Bush was looking for a vice president, and he put Dick Cheney in charge of the search committee to try and figure out who his vice president should be. And Dick Cheney did a nationwide search and came up with only one person, Dick Cheney. There aren't that many Cheney committees out there where the person in charge names himself. Pope Benedict, our terrible previous pope to Pope Francis, was in charge of the search committee for the new pope when he got named. So he's a Cheney committee guy. And now we have non-NHL Mike Richards, who was an executive producer who swears he had nothing to do with the decision as to who got to be the new host, but is the executive producer of Jeopardy, who now gets named after an exhaustive search of the good, the bad, and the ugly there. The ugly being Dr. Oz, of hosts, got them on there, chose himself and Mayim Bialik as the primetime host of Jeopardy. So when Jeopardy does primetime shows, she's involved as opposed to the normal syndicated show where Richards is involved. Like, and there's controversy around both of them, of course, because there can't be controversy if you're not around anyone. But that's not actually where I'm going. I just thought the whole thing was hilarious. There's no worse bad this week. It's not ugly. It doesn't go all the way to ugly because there's no one really being hurt in this other than
LeVar Burton not get it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. There's a whole question as to whether the ratings will actually drop, because it was so overwhelmingly wanted by millennials, and now older folks aren't going to care because they don't know who any of these people are anyway. Mm-hmm. But it was so overwhelmingly wanted by millennials that, again, this may be a situation where, people are protesting or whatever, that the viewership may actually go down, at which point they'll probably have to make a change. There are other people they could have picked. It didn't have to be LeVar Burton, but this was rather uninspired. Aaron Rodgers would have been a better choice. And Aaron Rodgers wasn't that good either. But my point is that would have been better received than this was.
Yes, I'd have to agree with that.
So, but no, the people who should feel real bad this week are Dennis Schroeder's agents. So 2.5 months ago, Schroeder signed a 1-year contract. This season, he signed a 1-year contract, I believe, or he was only on the Lakers for 1 year. I can't remember if his contract was traded. I can't remember how he got there, but he was offered a 4-year, $84 million contract to stay with the Lakers, and turned him down because he was going for $100 million. Figured out, the Lakers are definitely going to sign with me. Turned down all the money, whatever. Well, the Lakers traded for Russell Westbrook. Which meant that they didn't have any money for Dennis Schroeder. And when it comes to think of it, no one else really had any money for Dennis Schroeder, at least any team that he wanted to play for, because he wants to compete. He wasn't going to get that anywhere. I guess he could have gone to Oklahoma City and been at SGA's backup. Like, I don't know where else he would have gone. So he ends up signing with the Celtics for 1 year and $5.9 million. He wanted the full mid-level exception, which would have been $9 million. Yep. But that would have hard capped the Celtics. So they're like, we're not going to do that. And so he signed for 1 year, 5.9. He cost himself just this season. So say he has to come back here and gets a big contract next year. Just this season, he cost himself, with the way that other contract was structured, about $17 million.
And this is a guy too. I mean, like, he's a good player, but he's not someone he's not going to be the face of an ad campaign. So I guess where I'm going with this is all his revenue, or most of his revenue, or his income, is coming from what he does on the court.
Right. Yeah. Right. So he gets to be, I guess, Marcus Smart's backup. or he and Smart split time. I don't know. And if you've gone from thinking you're a $100 million player to being the backup to Marcus Smart, no offense, Marcus Smart, who's one of my favorite players just for how much he hustles, but not exactly an offensive weapon that you can count on. That's not so good. So I have to say, it's one thing to bet on yourself, but at some point, sometimes you just got to take the money. If you're Dennis Schroeder and someone offers you $20 million a year, just take the money. You maybe get 22 or 23 if you're lucky, but you got to read the market and take your money. He's cost himself a ton of cash. So that's pretty bad. Dennis Schroeder's agents, that's pretty bad. Of course, I think he should be super motivated for the Celtics. By the way, I think the Celtics are going to be a top 3 seed in the NBA East this year, which is crazy. People are telling me I'm nuts. I think this team is a significantly better team than it was last year, so as long as everyone stays healthy. So
interesting.
Yeah, they're like, well, they were a 7 seed. Yeah, but they were the 4 seed until everybody got injured, and then everybody passed them. So, and then they played Jason Tatum against the entire Brooklyn Nets team, and that didn't work so well. So, but anyway, so that's my bad. My ugly. What can I say about Art Briles that hasn't been said about Afghanistan? So the NCAA, so those of you who are not familiar with Art Briles, it's been a few years here. There's a 5-year investigation into Baylor football. So Baylor fired Art Briles in 2016 because of sexual assault allegations made against Baylor players, Baylor football players that were just not handled correctly by Briles.
Or handled at all.
Well, that's the thing. It's just completely and utterly left alone. The report from the NCAA essentially said that Briles, here's a direct quote, failed to meet even the most basic expectations of how a person should react to the kind of conduct at issue in this case, but that they had no power to actually punish him under the rules of the NCAA. So they didn't punish him, which of course left his lawyer to say that he's been entirely exonerated and should be hired by another football team post haste.
Yeah, that won't happen.
Which is not what happened whatsoever. But essentially it came down to the fact that Baylor was so bad at dealing with rape and sexual assault on their campus that Art Briles was essentially just acting like everybody else. And therefore he isn't any more guilty than anyone else for not doing anything about it. But that the whole university failed as a whole. And of course, people like Clay Travis are coming out saying that it's a woke witch hunt and everything else. No, that's not what it says. It's just like Brady being prosecuted for the footballs which weren't actually deflated. That's not what he was. That was under Article 46, where it basically says the commissioner can suspend anyone for any reason at any time he wants to on any whim. And that's what was being defended in court. And that's what the appellate court found in favor of the NFL, because the lower court found in favor of Brady because nothing happened, and the NFL admitted that in court, which is convenient left out of everything else. And this is your Patriots defender stepping off his soapbox for a second. But it's the same sort of situation where there's just nothing they could do. Like there's nothing. It's not. The NFL wasn't exonerated because they had a rule that allowed them to suspend Brady for tying his shoes the wrong way if they wanted to. It just, that was the rule. The NCAA isn't exonerating Art Briles or Baylor because they don't have a rule to prosecute him. Like literally Baylor's players could shoot up the campus. The coach could know about it and hide the players and their weapons, and the NCAA wouldn't have a rule they could do anything to punish the school. Like it's just not under their purview. And again, should it be on their purview? That's another question, but it's not. Right? I'm not actually blaming the NCAA for this decision. Mm-hmm. You can blame them for not having stricter rules, but I'm not blaming them for this decision. It's not specifically having to do with student athletes cheating, which is what they're supposed to be looking into, right? But this is just the whole victory lap being taken by this man and his defenders and his lawyer is sickening. The NCAA basically said the same thing with Doctor and Michigan State. Like they just couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't prosecute it. So there's nothing they could do about it, despite all the stuff going on. It's just, it sucks. But anyone who hires Art Briles should know, should be fired automatically for lack of institutional control. They're introducing that into their program.
I can't imagine that any institution would.
Some institution would. I mean, Rick Pitino is back. All he had to do is go coach in Italy for a year.
The football league in Italy?
Yeah. Rick Pitino went to Italy for a year and then came back.
Oh.
After he got fired at Louisville for,
Oh. Okay.
His error in judgment, let's call it that way.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of something. For whatever reason, I heard Paterno.
Oh, no. Rick Pitino.
Yeah, Patino, yeah.
No, yeah, Joe Paterno had another.
Yeah, he was coaching the Italian. Yeah, Italian's got a pretty good league there. So yeah, that's pretty damn ugly. Well, they're always ugly. So next week, we might have some football news. If not, we'll just sort of like talk about the fictitious halls. More blatant self-promotion just up on the site. Episode 3 of This Crap Was on National Television, where we look at Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
Yeah, that was interesting. I watched that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a trip.
I noticed though, when I do that show, I do this a lot.
Yeah, you do that when you talk about the Olympics a lot too. It's weird.
I do. And I'm going to be the same asshole who's going to complain about it in China 2022. And I'm going to watch as much of it as I can. Just like I did.
And then Los Angeles in 2024. And
that's going to be a disaster.
The good news is by 2030, it's going to be too hot to have Winter Olympics anymore. So we'll be fine.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So that'll work. And also, Andrea Testman and I, we looked at on how the hell did this go to number 1? We looked at Wham! And Wake Me Up Before You Go Go.
Wake me up before you go go.
And I explained my platonic love for Andrew Ridgeley.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, do you want to?
Please.
I'll repeat that here. Andrew Ridgeley is a genius. He latched on to someone who was super, super good looking, attracted to all the women, and didn't want any of them. Not only that, his friend wrote all the songs. He didn't have to do anything. All he had to do was show up. He married a Bananarama, who's still married to this day. Lives a life of luxury just off the royalties of just off a few songs that he got co-writing credits on. Like he got co-writing credits on Careless Whisper. You think he did anything on that other than said, yeah, George, you're doing great. That's all he did.
Probably.
Yeah. Probably added absolutely nothing. This guy's a genius. He's the greatest hero of all time to me in rock and roll.
Wow.
Did absolutely nothing and made millions because of it. Because he decided, I don't care that this guy's gay. Awesome. Which back in the 80s, that was a thing.
That very much was a thing.
Yeah. Nowadays, nobody gives a shit.
I mean, that's the reason that AIDS was just allowed to spread, because there's a gay plague, and they wanted to get rid of those people anyway.
A lot of people thought like that. I mean, It's hard to imagine, but that's totally true. So,
and it led. Here's a trivia question for you. It led to the largest piece of folk art ever created, the AIDS quilt.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
Nice. So that's what's on tap at notinhalloffame.com. As always, we ask you all to stay safe, and that's pretty much it. Just stay safe.
Also, vote for our stuff. Vote for the fictitious rock hall.
Yes.
Vote for the fictitious athlete hall. Vote for the real Athlete Hall. Vote.
Vote. Absolutely. Stay safe, everybody. Talk to you next week.
Later, guys.